ain'tradio.com.
Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 505 on Racing Show. Gives you great pleasure to see WJ back in the chat room, back in the saddle. For those who know what was going on with WJ, and for those who don't, he's here with us. Welcome, WJ. Hope you're feeling good. WJ, myracenews.com. Anyway. Good week of racing. If you're a boat, it was raining everywhere, and then the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was here on Long Island. They got the show in, although it was a day late, but they got the show in, and we'll talk about that in a little while. But that brings me to something I was talking about last week, the weather. The weather is a promoter's nightmare. Do you pull the plug? Do you reschedule? What do you do? And the forecast, depending on which weather person you listen to, it was spotty showers, 90% chance, 20% chance, depending on who you listen to. So what do you do? So now, as a fan, you're sitting home, you're like, wow, the Modified Tour is here on Long Island. What are we going to do? Well, let's go. And then, it looks like rain. I don't want to go all the way out there. It's rained out. I don't want to pay the money to get in to have it rained out. And I didn't go, obviously. I wasn't at the event. But I saw pictures from Saturday and Sunday, and there was nobody there. There were people there, don't get me wrong. But if there were 500 people in the stands, that's a tough one. And I'll tell you what, whoever made the decision to try to get it in Saturday and do the best they can to make that happen, and then decide to let's run Sunday, we got a window of opportunity. My hat's off to them, because they knew nobody was coming. They knew there was going to be an empty grandstand. They knew they were going to have to open up the drawer and reach in real deep to pay the purse. But they made it happen. And again, my hat's off to them for doing that. I don't know if I would have did that if I was in their shoes. And for those who don't know, it's a joint effort. NASCAR gets involved. The series director for the Wheel and Modified Tour gets involved. He's back and forth on the phone to his superiors or whoever makes those decisions. Because no matter how high up you go the ranks in NASCAR, you answer to somebody, and you're not making decisions. It's not like you can make a decision and say, well, I made that decision based on sound business reasoning. They don't want to hear that. They want to be in the loop with everything, and that's okay. It's their business, and that's what they want to do. So I'm sure there were a lot of meetings, a lot of phone calls, back and forth, in and out, and trying to decide what to do. Because the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour schedule from here on out is kind of tight, kind of crazy. And trying to get other dates, whether it be at a Long Island track, a Connecticut track, wherever it may be, is kind of tough moving forward. I mean, June's over, so we're in the dog days, July and August. July 4th is Saturday. You haven't looked at the calendar. So with that being said, my hat's off to them for doing what they did, knowing they were going to take a beating in the pocket. Because I'm sure they did. I mean, it's not the same person payoff that they had years ago, but nonetheless, you're laying out a lot of money, and if there's nobody in there, if there's nothing coming in the turnstiles, you run into the bank, you're doing something to make it happen, because you're going to pay these people, these teams, and your staff. And you can always pay the staff next week, but the teams, they need to be paid. And Long Island is one of the only tracks, in fact, it's the only track that I know of that on the tour schedule that still pays in cash. So for all your bean counters out there and your IRS listeners and your accountants and whatnot, they pay in cash. And the money's put in a big envelope and it's handed to the series director, and it's divvied up based on what the payoff is. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe it was $2,600 to win. And this was an event that, until this flash race format came into being, this event used to pay over $6,000 to win. But that was back in the day when the grandstands were full. There were 50 tour mods that showed up for 28 spots. And those days are gone. Those days are gone. There were 35 cars that attempted to make the show. So 7 went home from the reports I got on NASCAR.com, on my home tracks. And so be it. So another one's in the books, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the broadcast. So, the ROC Modifieds, big change here. The Race of Champions Pavement Series owner Andrew Harpel, who has owned and operated the series for the last 20 plus years, has sold the series. Beginning in 2016, the series will be owned and operated by Joe Scott Nickey. According to Race Day Connecticut, Scott Nickey is currently the vice president and strategic operations manager for Lancaster Speedway in upstate New York. Scott Nickey, I've known Joe Scott Nickey for a good number of years, and Joe was, he's been involved in racing a long time. He's been a spotter on the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour. He's the director of the Super Dirt Series, and he works side by side with Jerry Cook in the NASCAR Weekly Series as a competition director. In fact, in a couple of the years that I was a chief steward here on Long Island, Joe Scott Nickey was the guy that I called on Mondays to discuss penalties. And the only time I talked to Jerry Cook about penalties, if my penalty was too harsh or if my penalty was too soft. Otherwise, Joe Scott Nickey and we just made it happen. Joe's a good guy. He knows racing. He knows how to operate. He's a businessman. And he knows racing, like I said. So I wish him well, and I feel that the ROC series is in good hands with Joe Scott. And not that it wasn't in good hands prior to that, but you know what? When you do something for 20 years, you get complacent, and you do it this way. And I've been told this by a lot of track operators who've been doing it for longer. And I said, why do you do it that way? And they'll say, because we always did it that way. And my quote of the show, and I've said this over and over, if you continue to do the things you did, you're going to continue to get the results that you got. And sometimes you need change. Sometimes you need a little new blood in there to shake the coconut, so to speak. Sometimes you need somebody with a different perspective, and you need to listen to that person. You know, let's try, because, you know, a guy once said to me, you know, we're having a meeting with promoters, and we wanted to try something. We tried that once, it didn't work. Well, you know what? Maybe you didn't have the right people in place to try that. Or maybe it wasn't gone at it. They didn't give their 100% at it. Maybe, just maybe, the timing was wrong. So let's try it now, maybe. Let's do that now, because you can always go back to what you had. You can always go back and do it the way you used to do it if the new way doesn't work. But I think Joe Scott Nickey is going to be a great asset to the ROC series. And, you know, when you look about all these modified series that are out and about, modified racing isn't dying here, folks, especially here in the Northeast. Modified racing is flourishing. But what's happening is, this is what happens when you add divisions at racetracks. You start to filter down. See, the back markers in this series are going to say, you know what, let's go to this series. It's a little better. We have a better opportunity to win. So they go into that series. So maybe you lose, you know, half a dozen cars from this series, half a dozen from that series. They go to this new series. And I'm sure if somebody down the road decides, I'm going to start a new series, and they go and they start this series, they're going to get a handful of cars from each of the series. Just like the MRS. The MRS has flourished, in my opinion, from teams that A, didn't have the money that they once had, B, period, don't have the money, just plain old don't have the money, and C, you know, hard to get people to come with them for these 2-3 day shows. Everything with them is a one-day show. You go to the track, practice, qualify, race, go home. And I think that's why they're flourishing. But again, the ROC series with Joe Scott Nickey at the helm, it's a good thing. And I wish Joe well. Like I said, I know Joe a long time. Him and I have, anytime we see each other at a racetrack, we talk about how it used to be and how it can be. And I'm surprised it just took him this long to get back involved with modifieds. So good luck to Joe and the ROC's pavement series. They're gonna have a good time with Joe at the helm. I believe that. I believe that. So anyway, weather. It's weather. It's crazy. Weather, it hurt racing all over the Northeast. And this is the summer that I remember. A summer about 10 years ago that I can't believe how many rainouts we had. And I was up here on Long Island, and I'd go to the track, and I'd be there, early in the morning, and you're looking, do you open the gate, do you not, do you make phone calls, do you not, and you open the gate, now you're committed. So now you get everybody in, and get that just enough rain to make it, you can't go in the racetrack, so now you got to dry it off, and that would take an hour or so, and then you get somebody out for some practices, and you try to get everybody a little bit of practice, and you have that little window, and you'd be out there all day, and finally the promoters would call up and they'd say, it's not happening. There's another band coming. So you worked all day long to try to make it happen. And the teams spent the money on the fuel and the tires. And some actually went on the racetracks and they tried to dry the track. And you don't race. It's a tough call. It's a tough call. Like I said earlier, I would want to be in that position. I don't know what I would do. I knew if... I'll tell you right now, if I was a race promoter or owned a racetrack and bad weather was forecasted, I'm rescheduling that event or just canceling it outright because I'm not going to lose my shot. I'm in business to make money, not to lose money. And, no matter how much you love the sport, no matter how much, whether you're a promoter, whether you're a track operator, whether you own the place outright, whatever your duties are running a racetrack, you're there to make money. And I think that's one of the things that people miss, and they're saying what the purses should be, and we should do this, and we should do that. And you got to look at it from a business point of view. Racing on a weekly racing series, for the most part, ladies and gentlemen, is a hobby. So when you go fishing, nobody's paying you when you get off the boat and walk on the dock. There's not a little turnstile that says, oh, here's your money for fishing. When you play golf, unless you're in a PGA Tour, nobody's paying you. You're playing, it's a hobby. Bowling's a little different. You can make some money bowling as I did this past year. Not a lot of money, but, it covered the expenses. And unless you're winning every week and winning championships, you're not covering your expenses. But that's just the way it is. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about this flag controversy that's going on here in America. This flag controversy. Not that we're going to be political, but we're going to talk about this when we come back.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Rich Willer. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you get punched in the But if you have this bracelet from InRavio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered. The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. We are back. I think we're this camera. Anyway, we're back. All right. Sure, most of you have read or seen on the news all this controversy about the Confederate flag and it flying over the state capitol building in South Carolina, and they don't want to do that anymore, and everybody's getting involved. Everybody's up in arms over this, and I got to ask this question. It's a rhetorical question, folks. I got to ask this question. I'm thinking back in like the 1860s, 63, 4, 5, actually in 62, I believe, or 61, the South seceded from the Union being the United States of America. They elected their own officials, their own president, their own senators, congressmen, whatever, and we fought this war. Now, nobody wins in the war, but when it was all said and done, it was still the United States of America. It wasn't the Confederate States of America. And the flag that we chose to have at that time was the American flag. Red and white stripes, a field of blue with white stars. A lot of men and women died to give us the right to fly that flag. The Confederate flag is, yes, it is a part of history, as I saw in the social media. One of the people wrote, you know, that's a part of history. Yeah, absolutely. And the Confederate flag is all over the place. But, you know, this is still America, and there's no reason over a government building should the Confederate flag be flown. My opinion. You can agree with it or not agree with it, but that's just my opinion. That's how I feel. And NASCAR's taking a stand on this, obviously. You know, and I mean, with all the talk about the removal of the Confederate flag from the State House in South Carolina, NASCAR chairman and CEO Brian France was quoted in NASCAR.com as saying, NASCAR will maintain its long-standing policy preventing the use of the Confederate flag in any official position at our events in all areas that NASCAR covers and controls on any given race. I'm going to get this right now. That NASCAR controls on any given race with the flag the Confederate flag has no place. Now, how could he say something like that? You go to any NASCAR racetrack, any NASCAR event, the Confederate flag is flown proudly, and that's okay. That's okay. And I guess in an official capacity, as NASCAR is saying, you know, they're not going to have it on the pace car. They're not going to have it on the race cars because they do control what you put on your race car. Trust me. There's an official that walks around with a clipboard, with a check, you know, got this. Oh, you can't have this, and you can't have a sponsor on that part of the race car, and you can't have it here, and so on and so forth. So I guess what I'm trying to say is this. Again, this is America. And you want to fly the American flag proudly, man, I'll be the first one to back you up when somebody decides that you can't do that, that it's offensive. Somebody thinks that's offensive. And I'll be the first one to back you up when somebody takes our American flag and puts it on the ground and wants to step on it and burn it and all that kind of good stuff. There's no need for that. But the Confederate flag, this whole Confederate flag thing is just, it's kind of gotten out of control. And I guess, I'm jumping on the bandwagon because we're talking about it. But, racing was born in the South for the most part. And that's just what's going on. So I don't understand, or I can't see. I want to see the next race that they have like at Charlotte and have NASCAR say that there's no Confederate flags there. And again, in their quote, Brian Francis was very quick to say in areas they control, say like Pit Road, the Tower, the garage area, they can't control the infield. And I'm telling you, these people that are still fighting the Civil War are going to come out in force with this Confederate flag. He should have said nothing. He should have said nothing. He should have just let it alone, in my opinion. And I know, it's tough when you're in a position where you got to make decisions and the press is sticking microphones in your face, and I understand that. I really do, but you can't do that. I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Yeah, they don't need to. We're in America. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I guess never mind. I don't want to be a political show. We're a racing show. Let's talk racing. So going back to Billy. 22 Figure 8 says you need a good account when you race. You absolutely do, and I happen to have one of the best. And I've treated my racing as a business since 1989. And how do you make it? What makes racing a business? When you approach it as a business, when your goal is to make money, to be profitable. And you know what? That's hard to do. That's hard to do in racing, no matter whether you're on in the lowest division at your weekly racetrack or if you're in the top level, a Sprint Cup Series. It's tough to make money. And without sponsorship and people helping you and dozens and dozens of volunteers that show up, it's just incredible. When you look at that, when you look at approaching it as a business, you don't want to be greedy. You don't want to use the federal government as the way of supporting a race team. But what you need to do is you need to keep accurate records. And every dime that you spend, you need to put in a ledger. And every dime that you make, you need to report it. You can't be one way or another. It's like running a Fortune 500 company. You got to put down what you make. You got to put down what you spent, and you got to decide which of these expenses. Some of these expenses aren't for racing. I watch some guys and gals who have race teams and because they bought a cooler full of beer and ice. Well, that's a racing expense. It's really not. It's really not. And one day we might have an accountant on here that could. We'll have a whole show just to talk about the business of racing. Maybe when the season's over, when you're starting to prepare for next year. And really, you should be preparing for next year now and start working on your sponsor proposals so when the season starts, you're not scrambling. But anyway, Silverback. What's Silverback saying? Welcome, Silverback. It's been a long time since you and I had a little chat. They don't have fans in the stands. You think we'll fill in? And it's kind of, not that it's funny, but when I went to Pocono a couple of weeks ago, and I went, I just for laughs, I went online to see, how many tickets were available. And it was, if you wanted to buy a ticket to that race, you were hard pressed to find, let's say you wanted 2 tickets because you wanted to sit with your friend. You were hard pressed to find available tickets. You can go, I guess it was those ticket broker sites. I went on a couple of those and just to see what they were getting for tickets. And as I got closer to the event, the price went down and down and down and down. But when I looked out from up top there, I'm looking down, there was a lot of empty seats. And I talked to some people there, and they were saying that they don't get, those tickets are paid for. Because, and I've said this 100 times, you're paying now for next year's event. That money sits in the bank and draws interest. I remember going to Daytona, and I'd go a week for Speed Weeks, a week to go see Mickey Mouse with my kids and stuff, and I'd come home, 15, 18 days later, and there was my bill for next year, and I had 30 days to pay, or they give them my tickets to somebody else. So that's no longer, I guess, I don't know, the way it works. Or maybe it is the way it works, and because of the economy today, people are just not going. They're not going. Silverback, you grew up on Southern Rock. All right, now Silverback, I didn't ask you a question. What's it got to do with racing? No, I'm only kidding. I'm just breaking your chops. But anyway, that's just the way it is. And you gotta, just, if you're gonna approach your race team as a business, approach it like a business, and approach it like a business 52 weeks out of the year, just not the 20 or 30 weeks that you're racing. Because you could make money if you had the right sponsorship. You could make money. And again, like, people tell me, oh, I don't race to make money. Okay, so your winnings every week, why don't you donate to a charity? I remember having that discussion with somebody when we were talking about trying to get more money in the division and trying to raise funds. And this is about, I'm going to say, 6, 7, 8 years ago, before the modified maniac got into it and trying to get money. And when I was trying to do it, I don't do this for the money. So I said to that driver, I said, you don't do it for money? No, absolutely not. I said, so why don't you not collect your winnings, whatever it is, your $50 a week that you get, and at the end of the season, why don't you take that money and donate it if you're not here for the money? Oh, why would I do that? It's my money. Yeah, but you're not here for the money. It was a whole back and forth issue. Whatever. But it is what it is, as they say in the big city. But anyway, so the Whalen Modified Tour was here on Long Island. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit about that and the who, what, when, and wheres of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour racing on Long Island when we come back.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with Enravio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Enravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Enravio.com.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Russ Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Enravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit HansonCarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Welcome back. Hey, tonight we're going to talk with Jim Kelly in our Racing the Early Years segment. It was a good interview that we had at the Himes Museum of Nostalgia and Basra a little while ago, back in August. We're going to go through probably all of those interviews, little snippets of them. So we've got Jim Kelly. We're going to come back. We had a little technical difficulty there. We didn't have any sound. And the sound we had was like all garbled. So we'll come back to it shortly. But anyway, for those who didn't hear this, you're going to hear it here. A NASCAR TV show is in the works. Not a madhouse, not a follow around the driver. It's an actual TV show. Roma Downey and Mark Burkett will be developing a scripted TV drama with NASCAR. Should be interesting. NASCAR Vice President Zan Stoddard, Vice President of Entertainment Marketing and Content Development, was quoted in NASCAR.com as saying, "We have wanted to develop an original scripted drama inside our sport for some time. Burnett and Downey will serve as executive producers of the series along with Stoddard." So it's going to be like a weekly drama, like Law & Order, one of my favorite shows. The Blue Bloods, it's going to be like a show. And I'd be interested to see how they're going to do this. Are they going to have like a guy who races and they show what goes on in his home and how he misses his kids' Little League games and the family barbecues? It'll be interesting to see how they develop this. And you know, and it's kind of funny. I had kind of planted seeds, and we were trying to sell a little racing series a few years ago, based on one of my books, and it was so funny that they were so into it. They were so into it, the people that we spoke to, because NASCAR is so popular. And it is, believe it or not, I mean, maybe you'll see some empty seats, but it's popular on TV. They're getting the ratings like you wouldn't believe. NBC Sports is recording or taping some of the shows, although they're not showing them live. They're going to broadcast them at a later date, as they were here on Long Island this past weekend. And a show about racing. And I'll tell you what, I would love to see, again, how it's going to pan out, what kind of storylines they're going to have. I can picture it now, the star of the show, the guy, whatever. It's going to be like King of Queens with race cars. That's how I envision it. And maybe not in a funny sense, but in the drama. Because, folks, as we all know, racing's serious. It's a serious business, hobby, entertainment venue. Very serious. A lot of money is spent racing. And a lot of people take their last 50 cents and they're going to go racing. And because, as one person, because that's what we do. We go racing. And that's all good. But this show, I'm telling you, you get the right cast and the right promotions, I think this show's going to be big. I really do. I think this show's going to be big. It should be good. And I saw that, Cart Life, Silverback. I saw that. It was pretty good. Any movie or show that I've seen on racing, other than the far-fetchedness of some of the antics that went on in Days of Thunder, it hit home, and you could feel it and see it and touch it and know, wow, yeah, that happened to me. I understand that. And I can remember there was a racing movie about a kid whose father was a karting champion, and the kid wanted to go kart racing, and he went and knocked on doors and went door to door in the community, tried to raise money to go racing, and it was, the show was more about the father-son than it was about the racing and how they were here and racing brought them here. And that's what racing does. See, and one of the things I write about is either racing brings your family this way or it makes your family go this way. And there's not 100% support. You need to do something else or you need to find somebody else. No, I really shouldn't say that. But that's what racing is, and the racing family. There's no greater bunch and group of people in a racing family. And I know a guy was supposed to go this weekend and go to his local racetrack to watch some modified tour racing and maybe even help a team or two. And for whatever reason, he didn't go. And the team he was going to help was very concerned about that guy. Kind of weird. you sometimes in Silverback can attest to this. You know, when you're down and out, and your race team, or your race family comes through, and Silverback's still suffering from the effects of that accident he had about a year and a half or so ago. I believe Silverback, if I'm mistaken, a year and a half ago. Still suffering the ill effects of that. Going to be my crew chief, and we still talk about it. But you know, it's a tough thing. But the racing community, your racing friends, you know, kind of come forward. And I've said that all the time. I got mangled in a race car, and it's no secret. And how the friends came and helped and did whatever they could. And you know, people didn't even know. I was getting cards and letters from fans. I didn't even know I had fans. But anyway, it was all good. But like this show, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how this and Silverback's agreeing. You know, and Roma Downey, for those who remember, she was in that show Touched by an Angel that was on way back. I'm going to say 15 or more years ago. And I sent the script to them, actually, based on the experience I had in my wreck. And I got a thanks but no thanks response to it. And then the show got canceled right after that anyway. Not because it was a bad show, it was just, you know, time to do other things. So it should be very interesting. And it's not going to be like a madhouse. I read some stuff on it. It's going to be like a drama. It's going to be like a weekly drama on the top, you know, regular TV. So it should be good. Anyway, what do we got going? Wasn't a lot of racing activity in the top series this weekend. The Xfinity was in Sonoma, out in California. We'll talk about that in a little bit. As was the K&N Pro Series East. So that was always a good one. And as I said earlier, the Wheeling Modified Tour was here on Long Island, and let's get into that. The Wheeling Modified Tour. Before we get into the Wheeling Southern Modified Tour this weekend, we'll be in Caraway after a long stretch of not racing. You guys, every once in a while in the corner of my eye, I see something that you write, and 22 figure eight, you got cracking me up. The K&N Pro Series East, we're in Sonoma as part of the weekend out there, the road course. David Mayhew was the winner. Dalton Sargent was second. J.J. Haley was third. Ryan Partridge fourth, and we have William Byron finishing out the top five. And that was a combo event with the East and West K&N Pro Series. So that's they do the same thing when they go to Iowa and go from there. So what is Silverback saying? You guys cracking me up. So the Wheeling Southern Modified Tour will be in Caraway, as I said. The Wheeling Modified Tour, here we go. Here we go. They were at the Long Island racetrack. Justin Bonsignor, a local guy here from Long Island, was bested everybody with the win this past weekend. This was Bonsignor's 7th Wheeling Modified Tour victory and his 2nd at his home track. 35 cars vied for 28 positions, and 7 cars went home. that did not qualify were Jeffrey Goodale, Wade Cole, Gary McDonald, Anthony Nocella, Paul Hartwin Jr., Danny Watts Jr., and Melissa Fifield, who was way off the pace at the local quarter mile. The race was supposed to be run on Saturday evening. Trying to get that window, they upped it to an earlier start for the event, which was kind of tough because you get the track dry and it rained, dry rain, so they ended up pulling the plug and running it the next day, which again, I said earlier in the show, my hat's off to them for doing that. It really was. They knew it was a crapshoot, and they knew we were going to have an empty grandstand, but they made it happen. And they got the race in. And I can remember a few years back, and I'm trying to remember, I'm thinking it was late 80s, early 90s. The social media people were saying different, but I know where I was living at the time, and I only lived there for 2 years. And the race was on a Wednesday. Maybe my brain is Swiss cheese, but the race was going to be Wednesday. It rained, and they called the show that night, and the announcers, the PA guys, were on the PA saying that these teams can't, there's no hotel rooms available. If you have room in your house, let them stay with you, and blah, blah, blah. And I think it rained the next day. They ended up racing Friday. And a lot of fans put these guys up in their homes, if I remember correctly. But anyway, 35 cars, 28 positions. The winner, Justin Bonsignor, again with his second win at Long Island Raceway. Todd Zegedy second, Doug Colby third, Eric Goodale fourth, Woody Pitkat was fifth, Timmy Solomino was sixth, Tom Rogers Jr. was seventh from the pole. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Ryan Preece eighth, Vinny Bionda ninth, and Dave Sapienza rounding out the top 10. Tom Rogers Jr. set fast time. Post-race, post-qualifying inspection showed he had a spring rubber where it shouldn't be. They took the pole away, made him go to the back. Last place, start from the rear. Came from the rear from 28th spot and to finish 7th. That's one heck of a job by Tom Rogers Jr. But you know, Tom Rogers was a guest on our show, I believe it was last year, and I've watched Tom Rogers since he first came to Long Island racing, from the go-kart days to figure eights, moving up the ranks. And he's a talented, talented driver. But for some reason, and I'm going out here on this one, I'm going out on a limb here. For some reason, his local racetrack doesn't want him there. And it seems like when things happen, when they happen to everybody else, it's just, don't do that. But when it happens to him, it's blown up. He had a spring rubber that he wasn't supposed to have. All right, so you pull it out. As we all know, I was a tech inspector, race director, and then chief steward. And I always tried to do the right thing. Always tried to treat each competitor like the next guy. Treat each competitor the way I wanted to be treated when I was a competitor. And this guy can't catch a break. Can't catch a break. He's one of the best drivers that I've seen drive a race car. And I've seen them. I've seen Charlie Jazombek, Richie Evans, Jerry Cook. I saw those guys back in the 60s and the 70s. And I'll tell you what, Tom Rogers could run with those guys. If there was a way he could throw some dust onto the air and boom, all those top running guys roll back again. You know, the Fred Harbacks, the men who built this thing that we call modified racing on Long Island. He'd run with them. He'd run with the best of them. And for some reason, he's not part of that little group. He's not part of that little clique. And maybe I shouldn't say that, but I'm saying it. Because there's a lot of politics in racing at every level. If you don't think there is, you're in a fantasy world, you're in a bubble. But here's a guy, I'm telling you what, he runs up front and wins in everything he drives. And, a spring rubber, come on. He went over the scales, springs are, you could see them as a tech guy. Why wasn't it stopped at the tech line? Why wasn't it stopped on the scales and say, hey, you can't have that? Because anybody else, and I know this for a fact, they say, you might want to get that spring rubber out of there, and okay, you caught me, but no, they waited for him to go out and do his thing. Not right, in my opinion. Not that my opinion counts, but it does to me. Anyway, wheel and modified points as we stand. Colby's the point leader, followed by Ryan Preece, Woody Pitkat third, Todd Zegedy is fourth in points, Bobby Santos is fifth, Timmy Solomino sixth, Ted Christopher seventh, Eric Goodale eighth, Patrick Emmerling ninth in points, and Rowan Pennick rounding out the top 10. Good series, a good bunch of people. I miss those guys in the modified tour. But, in 22 figure eight, you know what? Yeah, I don't disagree with that. Some of his past antics are catching up to him. But you know what? Some of those antics, I was there. And when you poke the bear and you keep poking the bear's going to come at you. And that's what he did on a lot of those occasions. And sometimes all he wanted to do is somebody to talk to him. Yeah, so he ran 50 feet and dove through a little window opening that I couldn't fit through, but he did, because nobody would talk to him. I remember that one. There was another one where he was being attacked and he just drove away and a rock shot up from his car and hit somebody, so they didn't let him run the feature that night. That was another time. There's a whole list of stuff that goes on. He's just not part of the group. He's not part of the group at his local racetrack. And he's coming to a race, and because it was the home track, certain things happen. But I don't know. I don't know. I just wish that they would leave him alone, let him just race. And WJ, you're right. He's not affected by the nonsense. He just wants to do his best every chance he can. And he's the type of guy. He's not going to just get in a race car to go race and just we're going to do some laps, like I would do. If to him, second's the first loser. And like I said, I've known him a long time. I know his father. I know his grandfather. So hopefully he can move up and out and make it happen. I know, moving up in the ranks in NASCAR, they're really looking for young kids, and he's not a young kid anymore, although he does look like one. But he does clean up well, and he could look like a young kid. But I like Tommy. I have a lot of respect for him as a driver and as a person. And he has a lot of insight when it comes to this race, and a lot is in that head. And I just enjoy sitting and talking. We're going to try to get him on the show in the next few weeks and talk about where he's going, where he's headed, where he's been, that kind of good stuff. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Sonoma, we'll wrap up, and we'll talk about what we're going to do next week when we come back.
For over 60 years, Hanson Carpet has put the customer first, providing only the finest quality products and service. And Hanson Carpet is so much more than just carpet. We also carry a wide selection of window blinds and shades, and our licensed and insured technicians can service any of your flooring or window covering needs. Browse our huge selection of laminate, carpet, linoleum, vinyl, and tile. Stop by our showroom today or visit hansoncarpet.com. No matter what your project, Hanson Carpet has got you covered.
Hey, this is Chris Jake, and if InRavio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
What's up, guys? We're Scared No Fair, and we're here with InRavio. If they catch you at a show with one of these bracelets, you will win $100.
That's a lot of money.
So get a bracelet.
Do whatever it takes to get that. Hit them up online.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, InRavio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is InRavio.com.
We're back. And we're going to try a race in the earlier years, the Jimmy Reed interview. We're going to try it again. Sorry for the technical difficulty, but we're going to try it one more time.
InRavio.com.
I'm standing here with Jim Kelly. Jim Kelly was around with Hank D'Angelo, Al D'Angelo back in the day with the modifieds and everything else he ran back then, because he ran just about everything.
Al did. Al ran full midgets, TQs, stock cars, dirt, macadam. We traveled all over the Eastern Seaboard with Al when I was younger. So hence my interest. So it was a lot of fun. It was a great show for a real nice man, and taught me a lot. Taught me a lot, not just behind the wheel, but about life itself. I started in 1968 and beginner's car, ran about 3 or 4 shows, and we won 3 out of 4, and then we got turned around, got flipped in the air and caught on fire, burnt the car to the ground. So came back about 6 weeks later and we continued. The following year we came back out with a sportsman car and ran well, ran a modified at the end of the year, and then Uncle Sam tapped me on the shoulder and asked if I'd do some time in Southeast Asia, so I did that. And came back in 1972, drove a modified at Riverhead, '73 came to Islip for the first time with the big boys. And back in the '70s and '80s, Islip was the premier track just out on the eastern seaboard. Yep. 40, 50 modifieds in the pits, 12, 14 modifieds in the heat race, 16, 18 modifieds in the consi. You had the best of the best. Hendricksons, the D'Angelos, the Freddie Harbacks.
Yep.
I mean, you just name it. The Artie Tappins. So I was in awe of these people.
Jim Kelly, it was a fun day. I got to talk with a lot of people and share some stories and just sit down and have a bite to eat with guys that I grew up watching racing. It was just awesome. But anyway, this past weekend, the Camping World Truck Series was off. They will be in Kentucky on July 9th, and the Xfinity Series was also off, and they will be at Daytona for the July 4th weekend. So the Sprint Cup Series was at Sonoma, California. Kyle Busch was the winner with Kurt Busch second, brothers, running 1-2. Clint Boyer third. Kevin Harvick was fourth. Joey Logano was fifth. Jimmy Johnson sixth. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was seventh. Casey Kane eighth. Ryan Newman ninth. And Sam Hornish Jr. rounding out the top 10. A.J. Allmendinger set fast time on the pole. He finished 37th, 12 laps down into the leader's road course. I don't know what your feeling and thought on road course racing is. I think from a TV standpoint, it's not the type of race you're going to sit in your recliner and watch and not fall asleep. But live, I've been to Watkins Glen, Lime Rock. I've watched races there. You can enjoy it live. It's just so different live watching a road course. It's just so different, so different. Anyway, the chase, the standings for the chase. As we know, the top 16 and the win puts you in the chase automatically. So right now we got Jimmy Johnson as the point leader and he has 4 wins. Kevin Harvick second with 2 wins. Kurt Busch is third with 2 wins. Martin Truex Jr. has a win. He's fourth. Joey Logano is fifth with a win. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is sixth with 1 win. Brad Keselowski seventh with a win. Matt Kenseth is eighth with a win. Denny Hamlin is ninth with a win. Carl Edwards, 10th place. He has a win. Kyle Busch is 11th with a win. The next drivers do not have wins as of yet, are not locked in, but 12th in points, Jamie McMurray. 13th is Casey Kane. Jeff Gordon is 14th. Paul Menard 15th. And Ryan Newman rounding out the top 16. Although we're only into 16 events with 20 events left, so anything can happen. Anything at all could happen in the next 20 races. That's the way it goes there. Daytona, what they used to call the Firecracker 400, is this weekend now. It's all sponsored and all that kind of good stuff. But it's a good event. And they used to run that race in the daytime. In July in Central Florida, it was really hot. So now it's a nighttime event. And never made the July event at Daytona. Always went to the February one. I always wanted to go to that and kind of think about it too late. I don't think it's as crazy as it is during speed weeks. In Daytona, I can remember I probably went to speed weeks probably 20 times in my lifetime, and it's the community basically shuts down. School, they break that week because of all the racing activities that goes on. But anyway. 22 figure. No more Fox this year. WJ is sad. Yeah, he is. Speaking of Fox, Larry McReynolds announced he's stepping out of the booth and be no longer with the boys that he's been working with all these years. I remember I met Larry McReynolds in 2001. I believe it was 2001. It was the year Dale Earnhardt won the Daytona 500. And I can remember how intense he was that day, and I wanted to go up to him. And I'm not an autograph guy. I don't do autographs. But one of the things I would do is I take pictures. I have a picture of me and Larry Mack, but I was afraid to ask him. Imagine me being afraid to do something. I was afraid to ask him. So he happened to be at the gate, and I guess he was trying to get back into the pit with a lot of people in the way, and I kind of stood next to him and I said, Mr. McReynolds, can I have a moment of your time just to take a picture? And he turned around and he went, sure. Got the people out of the way, we took the, he didn't smile. I'll show you that picture. What is that, bring it in. But I'm a picture guy. I have so many albums, so many pictures. And, I used to keep in my office when I had an office. And people were looking, oh my God, that's so cool. But anyway. And yes, 22 figure eight. Jeff Gordon will be going from the driver's seat to the announcer's booth in 2016. Jeff Gordon does a nice job, I got to admit. He does a real nice job in the announcer's booth. And I remember when he came on to the game in the Sprint Cup Series at the last race in 1992, which happened to be Richard Petty's last race. And Jeff Gordon, young guy, little mustache, little chin mustache. And everybody, if you notice, it's gone. It's gone. I got rid of it. With my protest beard, and I set out to do what I had to do. So anyway, that's a whole nother long story. But anyway, yeah, and WJ, I don't disagree with that. Because let's talk about the race. It's like, and I'm a big Yankee fan for those, and I remember Phil Rizzuto when he was announcing, he was like the 26th Yankee because there's 25 men on the roster, and he wasn't talking about the game, unless there was a home run or something. He was talking about stuff. He was talking about his wife's cooking and back in his days playing at the old Yankee Stadium in the World Series and how he saved all his World Series checks and worked in the wintertime. But it's kind of funny when you watch these announcers and you listen to them. And there's some that, Mike Joy, I think Mike Joy is aces when he's announcing. I don't know what Darryl Waltrip's, what he's doing, and then you get the Waltrip brothers together. I don't know. It's like, they're talking about whatever. But 22 figure, it was. But see, not that I was in the NHL playoffs. It was like in the NHL, you have to be in until you win or lose. And what I was trying to portray, I think I won. So we got the raise out. We took it off. We took it right off. As far as the hair, I was going to get a haircut today, but my hair person is off on Mondays. And I only use one person. So anyway, but announcing racing, it's not easy. And I know that NBC Sports televised this last tour race here on Long Island, and what they do, and I know this for a fact, they'll go in the studio and watch the tape, and they'll announce the race as if it was live, and that's how they'll do it. So, when there's a wreck, I don't know how many cameras are at the track, but when there's a wreck, they'll almost announce the wreck as it's happening. That's one of the things when you broadcast from a recorded version. Because you're watching a race from up in a tower. You're looking here at a wreck there. You don't know about it, and all of a sudden the caution comes out. You're doing this. But I'd be interested to see how that broadcast plays off on. I believe it's Thursday night. So anyway, I think we're close to wrap up. Yeah, we're close to wrap up. Oh yeah, we're very close. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and watching. I want to, again, welcome back WJ. You had us a little worried there for a while. We love you, man. It's good to see that you're here on the chat room. Glad to see you're not typing too much because I read some of the stuff you typed. And your words are a little messed up still, big guy, but we still love you. Anyway, 4th of July this weekend. Remember what it's all about, Independence Day. Independence Day. Be safe. Be smart. Tell somebody you love them. God bless you all. We'll see you next week. Good night, folks.